Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. Listen, we're talking to you guys about Diddy and Cassie. You saw my 3-hour live where I broke down the whole of the 35-page documents from court, but today's a nice short one. Cassie has settled outside of court with Diddy within 24 hours. Keith Sunderland couldn't have predicted this, and it's amazing, right? But what has she lost in order to gain? We have to ask that question. And many people were saying that, Cassie has let down women because, she has taken the settlement and this wasn't about holding him accountable. And I want to discuss this particular issue today. Do I believe that Cassie has let down women? No, because actually the statute of limitations had passed. She couldn't bring criminal charges against him. What was allowed was that she was allowed to bring a civil case against him, all because, she had a narrow window of time when it came to New York's Adult Survival Act, which allowed her, I think it was the last week before she could file a suit of a civil manner. So the only way she could even get something against Diddy was through the New York's Adult Survivors Act, which allowed her to what? Do a civil case. Okay, which means she can be getting money, not necessarily hold him accountable or him to go to jail, right? So we have to eradicate that straight away. But does she have some responsibility for women in terms of maybe not settling, in out of court when potentially, this could have dragged on further along. More people might have come out, might have been encouraged to come and say their piece, etc., etc. And I want to say this straight and foremost as a quick summary to my breakdown of the whole entire video. No, it is not on that one person, Cassie, to now uphold and become this role model to hold up the gates like Samson, and for everyone else then to come rushing in like a flood. She has gone through too much already within the last decade. I'm not expecting her to become this hero and this particular model to holding Diddy accountable and dragging herself through an escapade of madness once more again, just to get some justice. And in reality, like I said, she couldn't bring criminal charges anyway, right? But we're going to break it down and host this whole video because there's a couple talking points I want to break down going forward as well. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification, the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. Let's get into this video. And let's talk a little bit about, this particular situation as well. I think with the whole Diddy and Cassie situation, there's they've settled, obviously, and their respective statements were here. Cassie said, I have decided to resolve this matter amicably on terms that I have some level of control. And I think that's important. I want to thank my family, fans, and lawyers for their unwavering support. I think that's really important. And Diddy, obviously, we have decided to resolve this issue amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the best. Love. And so that was after both they had settled their cases. Why is this important? I want to make it very, very clear. Whenever it comes to anything to do with rape, sexual violence, sexual assault, it is very hard to prove in a court of law anyway, right? Criminally. It's notoriously difficult to prove. And what is actually easier is to bring civil cases against men because they tend to settle outside of court. Case in point. Within 24 hours, Diddy didn't want to drag this out, even though it wasn't going to go criminal. Didn't want to drag this out because it would encourage other people to come out of the woodwork. The reality is, the situation is, had this been dragged out even further, more women would have seen this. More women would have been like, you know what? Maybe I need to get my shillings on as well, right? Maybe I need to hit him where it hurts. Maybe I need to take from him what gave him power, because it's the money that gives him power. Of course, there are other things that give him power too, having status and links within the industry that gives him some level of power. But this is one route to, I guess, punch back, hit back, and get back at someone who has hurt you incredulously over the course of a decade, right? Now, many men might feel like, well, if it really was about justice, then she wouldn't have taken the money. The reality of the situation, like I said, it's notoriously difficult to prove this. And sometimes a win is a win. Sometimes a win is a win. And you have to understand that this situation isn't just one man. It's a corporation. Diddy is not one man. He's a corporation. And so when you fight against somebody who's in a corporation, who's in an industry which is notorious for letting things like this go, for hushing people, for allegedly taking people out of the game, you don't just walk in there and walk out just anyhow. So this is something that it's a victory. It is a victory because that person has to take a win as a win. Okay. Also, that, you know, with the fact that she went to even file the lawsuit, we got to know the details of what actually happened. So without actually setting foot in court, and someone put it as a tweet, without him gaslighting her, lawyers lying, lawyers pretending, lawyers trying to create reasonable doubt and doing all the madness that they do in the court of law to in order to try to stop the pursuant from claiming the money that they feel they deserve. We got to hear an unfiltered, unadulterated story. We now know Diddy is nasty, evil, and dirty and crazy. And so I'm saying to you, and the him paying up usually could be. I'm not gonna say could be a sign of a mission of guilt, because Michael Jackson also did it, and people don't believe he did it. So, you know, this could be a sign of guilt with the fact that he paid it so quickly. Right now, of course, there's been stories about Diddy for a very long time. That's why people don't struggle to believe that story about Diddy and Cassie as well. Right now, psychologically, the only thing about this situation is that psychologically, well, I'll leave that point to the end, actually. I want to say this again. She is not a spokeswoman, and does not have to be the spokeswoman for all women. It is a burden to be in that position, and it's a lot to go through when you've gone through your own trauma and you're just about figuring your ish out yourself. Okay, I think it's a double whammy for a woman to go through such a traumatic, tumultuous incident such as, you know, rape or sexual violence, and then double up and make her also a heroine, and has to go out there and fight all the bad boys all over again. Yeah, I just don't think that's necessary. If you want to, fantastic. If you feel compelled to, led to, fantastic. But, you know, I'm not asking. I don't think that's fair on her also to do that. Now, someone might say, well, what about all the other little girls? Well, the reality is this is not a criminal case. So this is not about all the other little girls, because there's no criminal case to be brought. It's a libel case, which is full of civil, which is about money, right? You know, so that's often an issue as well, right? I want to also say this as well, that, you know, I guess the flip side of this, the only issue uh, that I have about this, and before I go to that final point, last thing I want to say is, you know, the Bible says that, you know, we're not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant of Satan's tactics and devices, right? Now, regardless of whether it went to court or not, Young Miami and others, they should know that this was out there, and that this situation, the documents were very clear and detailed. She ain't lying. Or at least I don't feel like she's lying. And therefore, as a woman, you have to be precautious. When Diddy comes around, you know you got to run. Don't wait for him to offer something. Don't be like, you know what, my record, whatever label. You just need to run. You need to be out of there, because you can't play with that brother who's evil and wickedness and bad. You understand what I'm saying to you? Wickedness, evilness, and bad. You do not want to, like I said, be around that situation. Now, every woman should know, and there should be no excuses. Let's not jump into a situation with Diddy. Even the men are scared. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Even the men are scared of Diddy. We don't play with Diddy. You understand what I'm saying to you? Ladies, please don't play with Diddy either. Let me say this. Obviously, the only thing I would say as a precaution is that if you had to settle outside of court and it's done, quote unquote, amicably, does that mean you have to sign an NDA? Does that mean you have to sign away your voice? Because is your voice worth the 30 or so million that you've asked for? And when I say your voice, of course, we've got your documents in a 35-page document, right? But there's something powerful about being able to speak also verbally on your issue or what you've gone through. It does. Have you exchanged your 30 million or whatever, how much money you exchange for your voice to not be able to speak up and say whatever? Then that will be a different scenario. Then, like I said, you had to lose to gain. Right now, if you are being silenced, are you not in the same position you were before? Which is, of course, yes, you got it out in a court of law, but you're just richer, but you don't get to speak up, and it's not going to be a heavy burden on your chest. That may be. I'm asking a question. Okay, all right. We're always gonna, and the thing is, now you can't talk about it. We're always gonna have the conversation that, you know, Cassie potentially got raped by Diddy and abused throughout a course of a year, but you won't never ever speak on it. So you can no longer run your story. A win is a win, and I'm gonna say that again. A win is a win, and we'll take it. I just wanted to make that very clear and very real. Yeah. So for me personally, I'm not expecting Cassie to become this heroine. All right. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon.